or go to aquaside.com.
Hail the flashlight king.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east
Will you
shore
see
of
if I
Spoon
left
Lake,
stuff in the printer?
it's Garage Logic.
I don't think
with
it
Chris
did.
Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Heidt in the newsroom, and of course, the rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Sushiro.
I got a note from the Space Cowboy, Carl, down in Northfield. He was a longtime pilot. I'm about 2 or 3 podcasts behind, but I still wanted to comment about your knowledge of geography. The CP and I have visited the island of Tahiti twice, where we boarded the MS Paul Gauguin for a cruise through several Polynesian islands. Bora Bora is my favorite and has the most beautiful water on the entire planet. I think he's referring to, did we discuss the surfing location on the show, or was that Monday Night Sports Talk?
No, you said nearby Tahiti on both podcasts.
That's 14 hours,
Yeah.
I'm not sure of the exact French government terminology, but we learned that Tahiti is considered part of the district administered by the city of Paris. This was a topic of discussion we had with a taxi driver in the city of Papeete, that I pronounce Papeete, Papeete, which is the capital of French Polynesia. The driver was outraged that the Tahitian schools are taught all subjects like history, geography, and civics from the Parisian point of view. In case you wish to visit French Polynesia, in December, Delta will begin operating a weekly flight from MSP to Papeete, with a stop at LAX, only 14 hours and 45 minutes one way. Other flights are available from Air France and Air Tahiti Nui, which we have used on previous trips. Rookie should ask his sisters to check it out.
Okay.
I think I was pronouncing it Papeete.
I always think of Papa Up.
It's Papeete. Papeete.
Yeah, Papeete.
That's an easy way to remember it, isn't it, Rook?
Yes, sir.
And we do have news that the athletes in the Olympics are fleeing the village, the Olympic Village. Apparently, it's a nightmare. First, billions of Christians worldwide had to endure opening ceremonies that either were or were not blasphemous, I guess, depending on your view. Now, according to multiple reports, athletes from across the world have responded to international committees virtue signaling, climate washing, sustainability theater by fleeing the village. Apparently, it's dreadful.
Okay.
And that's all I have on that. That's all I have on that.
Dreadful like the river.
I read something about woke, but they didn't define what woke was.
Right. Well, I think they've eschewed air conditioning, for example, because that would be injurious to the earth.
It's a trend among
that's
hotels now, too, in this
Yeah.
country.
It
Well,
is.
I ain't going to no hotel that doesn't have air conditioning.
I will say in Slovenia and Croatia, the air conditioning was an issue. You couldn't get it down to 68 degrees.
Well, I don't need 68, but I
just need it
need
cool.
75.
But you would agree that some people do.
Yes.
So what they do here is they just don't turn it on, and it's your job to turn it on when you get to the room, which means sometimes when you get to your room, it's 85 degrees in it, and it doesn't cool down to even 75 after 4 hours.
I've had that experience.
Yeah, that is very unpleasant.
You recall we were talking about the lack of beauty in modern infrastructure and architecture and what have you. And something occurred to me, so I printed this story out. There was a story on the news last night about the Minneapolis Park Board has decided that much of Minihaha Park needs renovation. There's a beautiful falls there. 2 million people a year see those falls at Minihaha Falls.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
It comes in from all over the world, man.
I love that.
We have a falls here, if you're listening elsewhere, called Minihaha Falls. And she's running like a banshee this year.
Mhm.
I mean, she's really running. It develops that on the south side of the falls, I don't even know if I've ever been to the south side, there's old walkways and brick walls and probably a WPA project because it was all from the 1930s. And all of it needs rebuilding. And I got thinking, I hope they mimic what was done in the 30s. I hope they recreate the brick walls and the brick
limestone,
the stone steps, and give us some good railings. But I hope they don't go bananas and do something foo-foo,
right?
Because you don't need that. I think the falls is the attraction. Just give me some a walkway that's a sound and some old brick walls, and wouldn't that be nice?
You want the surrounding area to maintain its integrity.
Well, thank you for interpreting.
Oddly enough, I don't know where that came from, but
that's exactly what I want. And I plus the Minneapolis taxpayers would probably want this done, not as frugally as possible.
You know what? I just realized something. It's been 5 years since I've been down at the bottom of the falls. It's not wheelchair or handicap accessible
at all. It's not
down
at all
there. Even if you go back to where I think they call it Hidden Falls are by the driveway to the VA, that's not handicap accessible back there.
It's not, but that is a way for you to get down to that big pool area.
That meadow area where everybody goes swimming there.
Right, correct.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Down below the falls, there's a swimming area?
Yeah. It's about, I would say, 200 yards south of the falls. You go down the creek a little bit. It opens up. There's a neat little meadow area there.
Really?
And the creek widens out and people go swimming there. Yeah.
It's picnic central, and you've got Minihaha Falls, the park is the most diverse you'll ever see. You get A to Z. You get everybody.
I've been to the park many times and I've seen the falls, but I've never gone down to what you're calling this meadow area.
There's 3 different ways to access it, 3 different stairways. There's 2 on the north side, and then there's a stairway on the south side, which you mentioned. Also on the south side is where you can walk from the bottom of the falls down to this meadow area, and there's another bridge down there.
Well, what the heck?
Yeah, it's a really neat area.
It's
down
really
there.
Cool. And on a hot day, I mean, you just jump right in the drink, and it just cools you right off.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Let's have a little. That's not really a game. Let's see if this is true. Because we're always grousing and we say, gas prices are too high, grocery prices are too high.
Rent is too damn high.
Rent is too damn high. I don't doubt any of that, but let's see if we can come up with how it affects each of our lives.
Okay.
All right. There's a story in Alpha News today about, what are you laughing at? Is it going to affect our lives?
No, but I just had this conversation at home this morning.
Biden administration regulations cost U.S. households more than $15,000 a year.
Additional.
So let's see what we do that.
Okay.
Agencies issued what amounted to 44 rules for every law enacted by Congress. Federal regulatory costs tax the average American household more than $15,000 a year under the Biden administration, according to a Competitive Enterprise Institute annual report issued yesterday. All right. Households pay an average of $15,788 in hidden regulatory costs, according to the annual report written by Clyde Wayne Cruz and called 10,000 Commandments. That's more than what they pay for food, clothing, education, or any other household expense other than housing, consuming 17% of income and representing 22% of household expenses. I don't know if this story contains it, but I still haven't reached any language that explains to me what specific regulation is costing us money. And apparently there are many of them.
All right.
Federal regulations' total compliance costs and economic effects add up to at least $2.117 trillion, rivaling individual income tax costs estimated at $2.328 trillion. Regulatory costs are nearly 4 times the corporate income tax of $546 billion. High significance rules established by the Biden administration outnumber those of the Bush, Obama, or Trump administrations. Okay, well, what are they? Biden can be seen as the Edward Scissorhands of regulatory disclosure. Not only did he end the one-in, two-out cost freeze for regulations and eliminate a vital portal, relieving hidden regulatory dark matter, but his 2023 executive order also raised the threshold for rules considered significant enough to warrant extra scrutiny from $100 million in annual economic benefits to $200 million.
I have no idea what you just said, and I read along with you.
I want to believe this. Obviously, we all would like less regulatory intrusion in our lives, but what regulatory intrusions are costing me $16,000 a year? They're not in this story.
All I can give you is anecdotal evidence from my own life, and I don't know that anything has to do with regulatory issues.
All this is telling me nothing. Rules affecting small businesses and local government have increased. Over the past 3 years, the Biden administration has averaged 870 rules annually in the Federal Register affecting small businesses, in contrast to 694 during Barack Obama's presidency and 701 from Trump. The Biden administration has issued 507 mandates affecting state government and 340 affecting local governments.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand that. Now tell me what they are.
Me too.
And how it affects me.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Right.
John, I don't know if you, I don't
have
even
the
know.
report. I'll scan it quick to see if
But-
there's an exact. Go ahead. Sorry.
Federal,
Give me an issue where a private business is paying more or doing something that costs them money and how they pass that cost to me. I want an example of that. It's not that I don't believe it. I just want proof.
My anecdote is probably a bit off the topic, but yesterday I needed to buy a toothbrush, some toothpaste, shaving cream, and a new razor. That's four
Well, this
items.
is perfect. This is perfect.
All right, here
this
we
is
go.
a good example.
I went to Walgreens on Grand Avenue where I once witnessed a theft.
I was going to say, did you pay or did you just take it?
Where you almost got your butt kicked.
And it's all locked up. And I walked horizontally. I checked every aisle for an employee who presumably would have a key. There were none. There was only one guy at checkout. I left the store.
Okay.
I then went to a different Walgreens. I went on Randolph and Snelling.
Ooh.
I walked in the door and I noticed 8 to 12 people in line to pay. I immediately turned
It's
around.
too long for you.
I'm not waiting.
What's your over under? 3?
If there were 2 people there, I would have kept going.
Okay.
But I would have discovered things were locked.
Right.
But what you would be hoping for is that someone would have been handy to unlock a case. Okay.
Right.
Now, so far, I haven't really touched on federal regulations, but I'm getting to the feds. Then I went to a Target, a small Target,
Mm-hmm.
and I found the case.
Which is oddly enough across from the Walgreens that you already went to.
No. I went to a Target in Highland. The Walgreens.
that tiny one.
Yeah, the
Ford.
Walgreens I went to was up on Randolph and Snelling.
I thought you went to 2 Walgreens.
I did. The first one was on Grand.
Anyway.
Okay.
I walked into Target and at least I got as far as the case where the stuff was that I needed. And a gal happened to be back there unlocking a case for a different customer who wanted something else. And I said, "Key lady,"
Hey.
friendly. I was key woman. And she said, "Be right there." And she unlocked the case and I got my stuff. Okay.
But Joe,
I'm not done. Here's where the feds come in, or here's where something comes in. The only people inconvenienced by the kind of leftism that has brought us a soft on crime attitude, the only people inconvenienced are honest people who want to pay.
Right.
The thieves don't care that the shaving cream is locked up. they'll just find a store where it isn't locked up and they'll steal it there.
Yep.
And pretty soon it'll have to be that every store is locked up. The only people inconvenienced by soft DAs, the only people inconvenienced by the Mary Moriartys of the world, the only people inconvenienced by the celebrities who want to bail out criminals, the only people inconvenienced are law-abiding American citizens who want to pay for something and have to jump through hoops in order to do it. Now, that has nothing to do with Biden's regulations, but it has a great deal to do with the Mysterian ideology. And he's a Mysterian whether he knows it or not. He's acting on behalf of Mysterians.
So I was glancing through the actual report that was included with this
is the
piece.
federal regulations that are costing us almost $16,000 a year.
And I also broke this down. And I don't know, again, it's a lot of minutia that we could go through, but it'll take us too long. Here's my point. $15,000 over the course of the year, gentlemen, is $288 every week. That's completely believable.
Okay, it is, but would you find me an example?
Well,
is there an example?
I'll give you one just personally. My energy bill alone is almost that.
But then you'd have to determine how much of your bill is due to regulations established by the Biden administration.
True. And that would be almost impossible for me to do personally, right? I
don't know.
But I could just tell you from a personal experience, I think Kenny alluded to it earlier, everything does cost more right now. And I guess I don't know how to pin that on the administration. But
well, that's the problem. If everything costs more, I don't know what federal regulation would have compelled that increase in price.
We could go to California, for example, I think, where there, and it might not even be the case right now, but it will be in the future, where they have all of their semis have to be electric. That'll be a regulation that will affect prices for the consumer because the price of everything is going to go up.
And wouldn't it be easy, Joe, to just say, because of fuel costs, everything costs more? Is it as simple as that?
Well, that would be a great part of it.
Because
but I don't know if it's as simple.
We do
as
have
that.
an administration that's demonized fossil fuels.
That's true. That is unquestionable.
But when I think of regulations, I think of you can't use plastic bags. You have to make DEI hires. You have to have electric vehicles. You can't run electricity during peak times, regulations like that.
Or I think of, you can't buy this battery for your flashlight. You have to buy this battery.
Prime example would be light bulbs there.
Yeah.
You can't buy incandescents.
Okay.
I know a guy.
Now we're getting there.
Yeah, I know
You
a
can't
guy.
use wood pallets. You have to use repurposed plastic pallets, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do know what you mean, and now we're getting somewhere. You can't buy this paint because it didn't meet federal regulatory standards for lead content or whatever.
We've got a
you
gal
have
here.
to buy this paint.
We got a gal here.
And
John.
this paint costs $17. The paint you wanted to buy used to cost, I don't know, $13. Maybe that's what they're talking about.
Right. Yeah. And we just went through this in Minnesota 6 months ago. Somebody was trying to pass a bill that wouldn't allow home consumers to do some sort of painting, if I remember right.
That's right.
And wasn't it the significant other of a painter that you know?
That I don't know.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was.
What was the story? I can't remember.
You had to, it was a certain percentage, or it had to be a licensed.
Oh, that became a state problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it's our state legislature dreamed up something where, a union painter had to paint it? I don't remember what the episode was.
Along those lines, yes.
I don't know how regulation